Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Life and Legacy Show, sponsored by the Sechler Law Firm. My name is Tim Sechler. I'm a certified elder law attorney, the owner of the Sechler Law Firm, and I am here each and every Saturday morning teaching you how to protect your family, your finances from the would-be creditors and predators of the world that want to come after your stuff. The biggest for retirees being long-term care costs. And in this week's edition of the episode of the radio show, we're going to talk about some ways to protect yourself. We talk about this pretty frequently, but I got to give some kudos to a good friend of mine. I went out and visited another attorney who has a practice like mine out in York, Pennsylvania, and we were talking about how we can get our clients to better understand some of these concepts because it can get pretty tricky. And he gave me some great ideas on how he explains some things. So thanks, Jeff. I'm going to use some of your stuff today. And I appreciate it. This guy is he's a brilliant attorney and has found some really unique ways to be able to describe some tricky concepts. And it's relevant to how it came up in my practice today. Before we get into that, a couple of things that I want you to think about, a couple of events that we have coming up. First, if you are a financial professionals, listen up. We have a financial advisor boot camp on April 28th. It's going to be in Cranberry Township at a place called the Regional Learning Alliance, which is an awesome facility. We are giving 6 free credits, continuing education credits for CFPs and life insurance agents. So if you are a CFP or a life insurance agent or just a financial professional who wants to learn about this stuff, we're having an elder law boot camp for financial professionals to teach you all about the different types of tools we use, like wills and trusts and revocable trust versus irrevocable trust. We're going to talk about taxes, and we're going to talk about Medicaid eligibility rules, how to protect your clients from long-term care costs. So that event is going to be April 28th. If you go to sechlerlawfirm.com, it's right on the homepage. There's a green button where you can register. Seats are filling up. So if you'd like to join me, I'd love to have you and teach you some of this stuff because I think we can help our clients together if we get on the same page with some things. So check it out, financial advisors. Also, we have upcoming estate planning and elder law workshops, which we hold pretty commonly in Cranberry Township near our office. We have had some demand for a South Hills estate planning and elder law workshop for a long time, and we just haven't been able to do it because we're super busy and whatnot, but we finally put it on the calendar. So if you've been listening to the radio show and you live in the South Hills of Pittsburgh and you've been wanting to get here, you just don't want to drive to our regular workshops that are in the North Hills, May 17th is your day. We're having a workshop in South Point on May the 17th. We're having 2 sessions. There's a 2 o'clock session and a 6 o'clock session. I think that they'll probably fill up, folks. So register at sechlerlawfirm.com. You can go to the workshops page and you'll find it May 17th, the South Hills workshop. We haven't been to the South Hills to do a workshop since before COVID. I'm really excited to come back down. And so that's going to be May 17th. All right, great. So what I want to chat about today is a thing that I had last week occur where I had recommended that my client do a thing called an asset protection trust, which we've done a lot on. I'm going to briefly explain it today. The asset protection trust is a great tool to maintain control and protect your resources from things like long-term care costs, right? So I had made a recommendation to a client that you ought to take a look at this thing. You sort of like your needs and concerns, your financial snapshot kind of calls for this tool as an estate plan. And then a financial advisor told him not to do it. And I said, okay, what'd the financial advisor say? And they said, well, it's going to be a big tax mistake. I said, no, it's not. I think your financial advisor is confused about what we're doing, which is, by the way, why we're having a financial advisor boot camp. So let's get on the phone. So I got on the phone with the client and the financial advisor, and we chatted for a bit. And the financial advisor says, well, my concerns are this, that, and the other. And I said, well, those aren't concerns because here's how we've addressed those. Here's how the plan actually works. And the client, and then the law firm, the financial advisor says, this is great. I said, yeah, it's great. Why doesn't everybody do this? And I resisted the urge to say, because you keep telling them not to. But that's not what I said. I said, well, this is why we have to have so many estate planning and elder law workshops, because people don't explain, people just don't understand this stuff. But once they understand it, now people can take control of their situation, protect their family, protect their finances, and really just make the right decisions. And so here is the thing that the advisor was confused about. So with an asset protection trust, which is a tool we elder law attorneys love to use to protect your home and your money from long-term care costs, right? Nursing homes are 150,000 plus a year, and middle-class families, by definition, can't handle that for very long, right? And so I don't want to see you lose all your stuff to long-term care costs. So let's protect it, and let's use a thing called an asset protection trust. That's why it's called an asset protection trust. We're protecting your stuff, which why wouldn't you want to protect your stuff? Now, here's the thing. You can put your stuff into this trust. You can maintain control. You can maintain a position of what's called trustee. You can be in control of the thing. You make all the financial decisions. You make all the distribution decisions. You're still in control of your stuff. Okay. Now, there are trusts where if you put your stuff into the trust, it can cause tax concerns, which is what this financial advisor had been concerned about. Except there's lots of types of trusts, and the financial advisor thought that we were using like a tax type trust, okay? And we weren't, but that's what they thought. And so there's a lot of these common misconceptions about trusts, and so my good friend Jeff Paloma, who has a practice out in York, Pennsylvania, he likes to explain it to his clients like this. I think it's brilliant. I'm going to try it out on this morning's show. So he calls it the three lands. Okay, so oftentimes in the government, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, right? So we've got these laws that govern estate planning. The Pennsylvania Fiduciary Code, there's the Pennsylvania Trust Code. Okay, so those laws govern estate planning. Then we've got long-term care land, right? So long-term care land is the Medicaid rules, the rules on nursing home contracts and admissions. So that's long-term care land. And then the third land is tax land, right? What the IRS has to say about everything. So there's three lands. There's estate planning land, there's long-term care land, and there's tax land. And so as elder law attorneys, we have to plan in all three lands, right? So when we go to estate planning land, what most of my clients tell me is they want to maintain control of their assets, right? I don't want my kids being in charge. I don't want some bank in charge. I'm in charge, right? I want control, right? Then there is tax land. In estate planning land, what we do is we create an irrevocable trust. I know it's a big scary word, irrevocable. That's why we call it an asset protection trust. But an asset protection trust is a type of irrevocable trust. Okay, so bear with me for a second. So in estate planning land, we create an irrevocable trust, but you get to maintain control. So you're in control of your stuff. And by having it in the trust, we can protect it in long-term care land, because what long-term care law says is if I can get to my stuff, the nursing home can get to my stuff. Okay, so we put it in a trust that says I can't get to it, so the nursing home can't get to it. Okay, now my family can get to it, but I can't. Right, and these are the concepts that we teach in the workshop, and so we got estate planning land. I want to maintain control. I want to protect my stuff. Great, because long-term care land says if I use this type of trust, I can protect it. But then over in tax land, the financial advisors and the tax people are like, whoa, 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 hold up, because if you use an irrevocable trust, then isn't that going to cause tax problems? Because the IRS looks at irrevocable trusts, and they say if you give up control, if you use an irrevocable trust and give up control of your stuff, then it's going to have negative tax consequences. Okay. Now, in the experience I had with this financial advisor last week, the financial advisor was under the impression that all irrevocable trusts are taxed the same, and they're not. Right. So there is the possibility in long-term care land where you want an irrevocable trust, but we don't give up control, because in estate planning land, we don't want to give up control. Okay, so I got a trust, I'm in control of it. And then the IRS looks at it, and the IRS says, well, even though it's an irrevocable trust, if you maintain control, like you can still change certain provisions or you can change the beneficiaries, then we're going to keep taxing you on the money anyhow, right? So no negative tax consequences for having transferred the stuff. And once I explained to this financial advisor that, look, the client wants to maintain control over here in estate planning land, they want to protect assets here in long-term care land, and we haven't created the tax problem that you think that you're concerned about over here in tax land. Now we're checking all three boxes, and the financial advisor says, oh, well, this is a great plan. Why doesn't everybody do it? because they haven't been to the Three Secrets workshop where we teach people, here are the three secrets. One, it's not just about death and taxes, right? So estate planning, when done properly, also protects your resources, because if we're only doing who gets my stuff when I pass away, how do we know there's going to be something there when you pass away? So we got to do some asset protection work. The second is you need the right tool for the job. And that means that we need to consider not just simple wills. We need to take a look at trust. We need to understand these tools better. And then the third secret is most estate plans fail. And most estate plans fail because, one, they chose the wrong tool for the job. There's too many lawyers out there saying, hey, look, you're not rich. All you need is a simple will. That couldn't be further from the truth. The second is a lot of people who do trusts don't fund them. They never put anything in the trust. And so if the trust doesn't own anything, it's not going to work. And then third is that a lot of the time, people are priced out of doing good planning. Okay. And so here at the Sechler Law Firm, we've come up with some ways where we're providing our clients with estate plans that used to be prohibitively expensive for a lot of people, $9, $10, $12,000 for these estate plans. And I looked at it and I said, man, there's got to be a better way to do this, because I want to make sure people are doing the right planning, and 12 grand is just way too much. And so then what we did is we took a look at our workflow, and we've made some changes where we can now dramatically cut that price. Okay. So we're now doing these good asset protection plans at a price tag you're going to be comfortable with. And so now we got a situation, and I was explaining this to the advisor, and the advisor says, well, holy cow, can you come do an event for my clients? And so that's sort of where we're going. We're going to do that. We're going to go and teach all of his clients. Why wouldn't we? And so, here's the thing that I really want you to take away from this conversation this morning is this. From a planning standpoint, there's people making mistakes. Okay. If all you're doing is a will, you're really only answering the question, who gets my stuff when I pass away, right? But nursing homes cost $150,000 a year. 1 in 3 of us are going to have dementia. And the system requires you to go broke if you end up in a nursing home. So for me and my family, I don't accept that system. It's not good enough. So then you take a deeper dive into the rules that long-term care land, and you realize, oh, there's opportunities here. If I protect some money from this broken system, then my wife is going to have a house to live in and some money in the bank. Why wouldn't I protect some stuff from long-term care expenses? And so then you take a look at it and you're like, well, okay, so I can use this trust and it protects it from my biggest financial threat in retirement. And so now I know that I and my spouse, we're going to have a house to live in and some money in the bank. Okay. And then it doesn't create any tax problems. Well, it starts shaping up, and I don't want to use the word perfect estate plan because nothing's perfect with this stuff, but it's a pretty good way to protect yourself, protect your family, and do actual real estate planning, not just splitting the leftovers that are left over when you pass away. And so that's what we talk about at our estate planning and elder law workshop. You can find them on SechlerLawFirm.com. Go to the workshops tab. There's the options. And in case you tuned in late to the show, hey, South Hills. We've got our first South Hills workshop in about 4 years coming up on May 17th. May 17th, there was a 2 o'clock session and a 6 o'clock session. For those still working, come in the evening. Retirees, check us out at 2 o'clock if you like. This is fantastic information. We've been filling workshops in the North Hills, but I know it's a long drive for a lot of people. And so we've had a lot of call-ins. We've had a lot of people asking us to do a South Hills Elder Law and Estate Planning workshop. So we're coming down to South Point on May the 17th. I look forward to seeing you there. We're probably going to fill the room. So I suggest you go to the website now and register. SechlerLawFirm.com. SECHLER lawfirm.com. Go to the workshops tab, find it, May 17th, South Hills workshop. Financial advisors, if you checked into this show late, April the 28th, I got some free continuing education credits for you, but more importantly, I'm going to teach you the ways to protect your clients in their finances in their house from the biggest financial threat that they face. That's the long-term care stuff. So the things I've been chatting about today, using asset protection trusts, we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about nursing home crisis strategies. So the crisis strategy is people that haven't planned ahead. Now they're in a nursing home. Now what do we do to help them? They're going through $10, $12, $15,000 a month in long-term care costs. What can we do now to make sure that the house is safe, the money is safe? And we're going to talk about those techniques. That is April 28th. We're going to do it in Cranberry Township at a place called the Regional Learning Alliance. On the homepage of the website, SechlerLawFirm.com, is a green button. Hit the green button, register for the Financial Advisor Boot Camp. We've got 6 credits for CFPs and life insurance agents on that day. No cost to you. We're just trying to get you educated so that we can help your clients together protect their stuff. So the other day, I was in a one of our workshops, and a financial advisor came with the client, and I was explaining how we could put the house into a trust and put some money into the trust. And a financial advisor was had never come into contact with these concepts yet. And the financial advisors, here's the thing that has been my experience. Financial advisors frequently, when we're talking about estate planning, they really only are considering the assets that they have under their management. So if they've got the brokerage account, they're thinking about the brokerage account, but they're not thinking about the house all the time because they don't really have anything to do with the house, right? But the house is $300,000 and or more in some situations, right? So we got a couple of $100,000 house with this family, and let's do some planning. So here's an interesting little thing to understand. All right, we can get you the details at the workshop, but just accept that I can put assets into a trust, and after 5 years, they're protected from long-term care expenses. Okay, from skilled nursing expenses. All right. Now, when we do these trusts, we often put in the house and some money, but I often consider it a win if we just get the house into the trust. All right. So put the house in the trust, and here's why. Because let's take a family. I'm going to make up a hypothetical family. They have a house worth $300,000, and then their combined net worth with their money in the bank and their retirement accounts, let's call that $500,000. Okay, so they have a $300,000 home, and they've got $500,000 in retirement accounts and other assets in the bank. Okay, without planning, that family goes into, let's say dad, the husband, goes into the nursing home, and mom comes to see us and wants to know if there's anything we can do to protect assets. And there's some techniques that we can use. But here's what's at risk. One, mom is allowed to only own from the $500,000 of available resources. Mom is allowed to own half of the money up to a maximum of about $150,000. Let's just call it $150,000 for today. All right. So we got a $350,000 problem, right? Because the family has a $500,000 nest egg. She's only allowed to keep $150,000. So over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to blow $350,000 to this broken nursing home system that requires people to go broke. Right? Now, in addition to the $150,000, mom is also allowed to own the house. Great. All right, so mom has a house and $150,000. But let's say mom's going to live another 25 years. That's probably not enough money because we're going to lose dad's income. What if we could go back in time 5 years and I put mom's house in an asset protection trust? I put the joint house in the asset protection trust. Okay, so after 5 years now, that house is protected from the long-term care system. Even if we don't put any money in, if we just put the house in the trust, now we have $500,000 in the financial accounts. Now, dad goes to a nursing home. Mom's allowed to keep $150,000. We still have a $350,000 problem. However, there's an asset that mom's allowed to own in this case that she doesn't own. Mom's allowed to own a house. Mom doesn't own a house because we put a house in a trust 5 years ago. She's living in that house, but she doesn't own that house. So now back to the present situation, we have a $350,000 problem. And what we could do is mom could go buy a house for $350,000. So rather than losing the $350,000 to this broken long-term care system, we now protected the $350,000 because we had a plan for what would happen later. We didn't get lucky. We thought about it. We had a plan. You know, luck is not a plan. Don't count on getting lucky. 1 in 3 of us are going to have dementia. More people, if we take that plus the incidence of strokes and Parkinson's disease and mobility issues, lots of people need long-term care. It's super expensive. Don't get lucky. Lucky is not a plan. If we can think ahead a little bit, do a little bit of planning, we can handle this risk. And now you can sleep at night because you don't have to worry about the single biggest financial threat that retirees face. And that is what happens if one of us gets sick, right? So but you can understand, here you are listening to this radio show, and it's hard to explain all this stuff in a 30-minute radio show. I love whiteboards. I love to draw this stuff out on a whiteboard, and it's super easy for me to explain it on a whiteboard, but I can't do a whiteboard on a radio show. And so we have the hour-long estate planning and elder law workshop. It's called the 3 Secrets to Protect Your Family and Your Legacy. We offer them pretty frequently up in the Cranberry area, but we have our South Hills offer coming on May 17th. So please check out one of these workshops. It's an hour of your time, and you're going to learn to protect everything you got. And so by coming, whether you decide to hire us or not, at least you're making a decision. Because if you haven't looked at this stuff, or if all you have is a simple will and nobody's ever talked to you about this potential risk, right now, your plan is to get lucky. And getting lucky is not a plan. You understand? All right. So I just want to share a sort of a scary thing that occurred last month. Last month we did 8 different families came to our office going broke due to long-term care expenses. All right, 8. So phones ringing. These people are coming in. They're in tears. We're going through $10,000, $12,000 a month, and so then these are families that didn't think ahead about this issue, right? Didn't get lucky, and now they're going through their money. And now we're wrestling with what we call crisis management techniques. Okay, all right, so now Dad is in the nursing home. We don't have 5 years to plan ahead. Now what are we going to do? And there are still things we can do. Like if you're in that situation, give us a call, because there's still things that we can do. But I can tell you, mathematically speaking, the better result occurs if you plan 5 years ahead of time. We got to plan ahead of time for this risk. But if you're in a crisis management situation, give us a call. We can help you with this, whether it's the life program or the nursing home or some other community waiver. If you're looking to get Medicaid to pay the nursing home, we do a bunch of this work. But don't end up, if you're not in that situation, I don't want you to end up like those other 8 families that we saw last month and more that we're seeing this month, just going through all of their money. It's heartbreaking to me, which is why we host all of these workshops, because it's been my experience in 12 years of doing this, that once people understand the rules, they take the time, they take 1 hour to come to a workshop. And once they understand the rules and understand what they're up against and understand that there are planning opportunities, most people will act in their own best interest and protect their money, protect their house from these rules, because the system is broken. And nobody's trying to fix it. We got an election year coming up next year. And the way it goes this year, these days it's going to start this year. There are already people announcing their candidacy. And here's the thing. What none of them are touching, what nobody's talking about, is how do we fix the long-term care system for our seniors? They don't want to touch it. They don't want to be asked the question. They don't want to read my article. They don't want to answer my email, because nobody's trying to fix the system. And so we have a broken system. The folks in Washington and Harrisburg are not trying to fix it for you. And the baby boomer wave is coming, meaning the baby boomers are getting into their retirement years, their senior years, and they're going to get sick. 1 in 3 of us are going to have dementia. 2 in 3 of us are going to need long-term care. Nursing homes cost $150,000 a year, and it is the perfect storm for people to lose their entire net worth to this risk, right? Let me tell you guys, they're not going to fix it. You have to fix it for yourself, and there are planning opportunities. You can fix it for yourself, but getting lucky is not a plan. You got to get educated. You got to come to one of the workshops. We'll teach you how to do it. We've got extremely affordable pricing on how to get this stuff done. and we can protect your family, your finances from this biggest risk and let you get back to sleep at night. So we did some technical stuff on today's radio show. Please don't make any legal or financial decisions based on what you hear on this or any other radio show. This is education, not advice, folks. You need to get advice before you make decisions. And I want to remind you of our upcoming a couple of events. We've got the Financial Advisor Boot Camp on April 28th. We have our regular workshops that we do in Cranberry Township. You can find those on the workshop on the website. And May 17th is our first in the last 4 years, since before COVID. It's our first South Hills workshop. And we expect that room to fill up. It's going to be down at South Point, May 17th, 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock sessions. They're going to fill up, so register today. And I look forward to seeing you guys. I hope that you found this episode educational, informational. We'll see you here next Saturday morning.